All right, we're started. Let's see. I'm gonna do it. This is a test run. First time we're doing this. Everything looks good. Audio's being picked up. Video looks good. Where does it show up on our channel? Okay, yeah, there it is. So we just all right. This and then interesting. All right. Anything look bad? Okay, so this is it. We're doing our first episode. We're doing the Midcard podcast. We're going to be talking about WWE, AEW at some point, but just kind of getting back into wrestling is, it's a very interesting topic.
Yeah.
So we watched WrestleMania last year, the WrestleMania 38, and then we said we were going to start watching wrestling more, and that phased out. But this year we watched WrestleMania again, and it's. I mean, for me, it's sparked such an interest. It's such a very fascinating. It's a very fascinating. What's the show? What's product? I don't know.
Interesting time to get back into it with all the things going on. Sale to Endeavor and.
Well, it's technically not a sale.
Well,
it's a merger, but we'll be talking about that later on. But yeah, it's so funny. It's just such a crazy time for WWE especially. But just to kind of give an overview of how we're thinking about running this podcast, because I know there's a lot of news focused people out there. We're going to talk about news, but we're not investigative journalists or anything like that. We're just
no insiders.
Yeah, no insiders yet. But no, we're fans first and foremost, so we're kind of talking about it from that perspective. We're going to focus on things like what makes WWE great about itself, what makes AEW great about itself, right? So that's kind of my goal. I'm assuming you're in the same boat there. I got a little, let's see, got talking points. For now, we're looking at doing weekly podcast on Saturdays. Probably usually earlier than this, but sometime on Saturday. We'd like to do once a month, ideally. We'd like to do like a historical kind of deal. Maybe live, maybe recorded, don't know. But talking about stuff from the WWE. I mean, I pay for Peacock and everything, so it's got to get used out of that, right? And honestly, the historical WWE is such a different world. It's crazy. So it's definitely something that I think deserves discussion. And I mean, like I said, I mentioned AEW. We're going to kind of get into that as well. It's just a matter of finding the time, because we unfortunately also have jobs.
Yeah.
So unless we find some anonymous benefactor who wants to fund our addiction to wrestling, it's going to stay an as we can do it kind of deal. But we're doing. We've got social media. I mean, Twitter. I pretty much tweet during every single match that we watch, every single event that we watch. We've got a TikTok that has like 2 videos on it for now. We have a Discord server. The more people we can get in there to talk, the better, because obviously it's just another place to talk about wrestling, and it'll help us get ideas of what we can do, what people will be interested in seeing and hearing about. So, I don't think I missed anything there.
I don't think so. Okay. Covered pretty much everything.
Okay. So with that, that's the intro. That's out of the way. So we can move on now to actually talk about more interesting stuff. Let's start with WrestleMania, specifically Night 1, which
the better of the 2 nights
was so good. Absolutely great. So the very first match, right? John Cena versus Austin Theory for the WWE United States Championship. I hate Austin Theory. Not a fan at all.
Probably by design.
Right. But I am a big heel fanboy. I love The Miz. I love MJF in AEW. Although, and I'll talk more about that later on. But see, that's the thing. I hate MJF, but I still love him. Whereas with Austin Theory, although I will say, so going back to the match, and kind of foreshadowing to later, if they give him like a legend killer angle, that could be very interesting. So, but overall, how did you feel about the John? I mean, John Cena hasn't wrestled in a hot minute.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was an exciting match. Felt bad for the kids.
Oh my god!
Having to watch John Cena lose, that surprised me a little bit. I figured because they had the kids there that they were gonna let Cena win. But then when I realized, for the title, he's not an active wrestler.
Right. It wouldn't make sense to give him the title.
He's in the Barbie movie. Apparently, I didn't even know that. All right, so he's a busy guy outside of wrestling. But thought maybe they give him a little win, maybe make him like lose it again next night and send him off or something. But
but they gave him he lost, but the other guy cheated, so it's like not as soul crushing for the kids. It's more emotionally charged.
He just got like a beat down.
Just Austin Theory beats the crap out of him
right in front of them. So
you like this, kids? You like this? No, that would be a Sasha Banks moment. Oh, she's gone though, isn't she?
Yeah, she's got a new Mercedes Monet, something like that. She's got a new name now.
Oh, is she wrestling somewhere else?
I think New Japan, potentially.
Oh, NJPW?
Yeah, I just happened to see a couple things lately, so I figured, maybe next week.
I loved her. I thought she was great. We watched that, the WWE put out that thing last year about the villains or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That was great. I loved that.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a sucker for heels, which is like that's why like when I say I don't like Austin Theory, like that means something, right? Because like you said, you're not supposed to like heels, but you do. You like them.
Yeah. I mean, we've got Vegeta and Cell right behind us.
That's true.
Wearing a
Yeah.
shirt. So obviously we're no strangers to enjoying the bad guys.
But okay, I mean, it was a short match overall, and
Not
no
opener and.
But after that, we moved on to, I believe the next match was the Street Profits versus Alpha Academy versus the Viking Raiders versus Ricochet and Braun Strowman Fatal 4-Way Showcase.
Yep.
So I'm big on picking favorites. I love the Street Profits. I think they're awesome. And I want their bedazzled, bejeweled red Solo Cup. I don't. It's unfortunate that I feel like again, it was a fatal 4-way tag match, right? So like, it's hard for one person or one group to shine. So I feel like they didn't do. I feel like they were kind of like out for a lot of the match.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
I mean, I think overall they did a better job than the women's match. I will say, like, getting some people some face time. Yeah, like, I think they did a good job, like, incorporating some fun things, right? Like, where they had, almost playing chicken at one point over in the corner.
It was a good match.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong.
Ivar doing, like, a moonsault, was that what he did?
Oh, my, he did a moon. That was impressive. So I want to clarify. It was a good match.
Yeah.
I just felt like specifically the Street Profits weren't in it enough for me. Because I love those
And I'm trying to remember, and I can't recall, but again, there's so many people involved.
Right, it's
tough to really have somebody in the spotlight.
To your point, the Ivar moonsault, great moment. They did do that like human Jenga where there was like, what was it, 4 guys, 5 guys, and then a 6th one knocked the whole thing. That was great. So great showcase match. I really enjoyed that. I think, and again, you're coming off of that Austin Theory John Cena match. The crowd was hyped for John Cena. Yep. The match itself was okay. Nothing special, but not bad. Just slow build. So that was also very good. Ricochet is very expressive with his eyes, which is he's cool. It's great seeing that guy like bounce around the ring. I mean, we watched him on SmackDown last night as well. It was him versus Ivar actually. I think, which was an interesting match. Apparently, you mentioned that people are getting tired of the Viking Raiders.
Yeah, I've seen some things online. I think previously, and I meant to look this up, their prior costumes were a little bit more realistic, where people feel like what they're doing right now with Valhalla is like kind of cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
And
I can see that. I did think it was like weird, but not like in like a super negative way. But I was just like, wow, they're like, that's gotta be weird to wrestle in.
Yeah.
but
yeah, so and she doesn't really seem to bring anything to the stable, so I think people are just kind of over it and looking for something a little bit different.
She's almost more like a manager at that point.
I mean, but even as a manager, she's not doing anything other than she tells them what to do,
Right.
right? Like, and it's not really, she doesn't really seem to interfere in the match much, or
she's trying to. She seems like she's like trying to put herself really in there, which is nice. But I just feel like they don't give her much to do, right? Because obviously she can only do so much because she can't just cause a random DQ or anything like that.
You gotta be smart with it.
Yeah, so
you see it all the time. Paul Heyman and
Paul Heyman. That's another guy. I love Paul Heyman. He better be in the Hall of Fame next year. So okay, but that was a good match. It was a good match overall, and I believe Street Profits did win, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was happy with that. I also have to say, oh God, we can't move on past this match without talking about Chad Gable's German suplex.
Oh yes.
On Braun Strowman. That guy. I also hate Chad Gable. I do hate Chad Gable. I don't hate him the way I hate Austin Theory, though.
He's a great technical wrestler.
He's insane. Yeah, the guy is insane. I just want to kill myself when he says "shoosh." But yeah, that was crazy. That German suplex. I actually just saw a clip of that earlier today. Again,
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, that was crazy. But okay, so that was a good match. But after that, we had one of the best matches that I personally have seen, which is not a large pool, mind you. I watched the Royal Rumble in 2011, and then I watched WrestleMania last year, and now I watched WrestleMania this year. Now I've watched wrestling almost every night, but I was never allowed to watch wrestling as a kid, unfortunately. So I never was allowed to get into it. And then I had a buddy of mine in college who did wrestling actually in indie wrestling for a while. He wrestled MJF before he was in the AEW, and I told him about our podcast, and he said someday he'll have to come up and watch. And I said, please, you'd be an interview guest. So once we get a better setup, because this is all temporary, we're gonna have more. We're gonna have fancy graphics. We're gonna get ourselves set up down at the bar. Maybe get a nice little table. But we wanted to kind of get rolling, especially right after WrestleMania, right with all the stuff to talk about. Seemed like a good time. So, but anyway, I digress. The Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul.
Yes, very very good match.
God,
I hate Logan outside of wrestling. He really does a lot.
Yeah.
In the ring, I think he's great. He takes a lot of risky moves. He seems to be a very careful wrestler. So, as much as he is trying to take risks, he seems very cognizant of, good ring awareness, right? So, and just exciting, right? Like Seth on his own, right? Very exciting wrestler too.
Yeah.
Logan, coming in, had a little bit of heat back and forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
it's
very exciting.
If Logan Paul wasn't a pretty terrible person in real life, I would actually probably put him up there for among my top favorite wrestlers, because I think he's talented, and I think he knows how to work the crowd, obviously. And unfortunately, I think a part of the reason why he's so good at being the character he is because he's kind of a piece of garbage.
Yeah, he's just playing himself, really.
But so it's a shame because he's very talented. I really like him. I actually saw a clip 20 minutes ago before we started. He was doing an interview with BT Sports or something, and they asked about his contract coming up.
Yes.
And they were asking him, if he was going to renew or what. And at first he was like, yeah, I think so. Or is there any, or do you think, what did he say? He was like, do you think there's any chance that you won't resign? And he said something along the lines of it would have to be pretty big, or basically implying it. And then they circled back towards the end, and he was like, that they'd be crazy not to sign me. And he's like, do you want to? He's like, absolutely. I think it's very good for me. And I agree. I think that if Logan Paul became a full-time WWE wrestler, it would be good for him because he wouldn't have time to do all this stupid shit that he's doing that gets himself in trouble. But, I would love to see him wrestle full-time. I think he's very, very talented, and his matches are very entertaining. Him against Seth Rollins was great. Did you know he went up against Roman Reigns for a title match?
No.
Yeah. That's, again, TikTok is great
Stuff
for me.
We missed.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Again, we haven't watched a lot the whole last year plus, but we saw Logan Paul's first match last year at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and that was really good too.
Yeah, and we were very surprised. We actually expected him to be as much of a piece of garbage in the ring as he was out, but he was You know, very good. Again, I wish I would be willing to like move past if he just was like if he stopped doing awful things and he started wrestling and limited himself to only being a terrible person in the ring as a heel, then I would be a Logan Paul fan. Until then, you know, I'll have to keep hedging my bets and saying he would be great if. But and of course, you know, Logan Paul's easy to talk about because he's got so much out of WWE exposure, but Seth Rollins is interesting. And he's a good wrestler. He's a good wrestler. He's an interesting character, right? He's always Seth freaking Rollins. Yeah. His entrance was actually amazing in that match as well. There was that clip that the WWE had posted of him talking to Becky Lynch, his wife, right?
Yes.
Yeah, his wife. And he was like, "I told you it was awesome," and she was like, "That's not fair." So in her accent, of course. But
I think my favorite comment that I saw was, if you had shown me, like, just Seth's outfit without saying like anything, like it's Seth's, they wouldn't know whether it was Becky's or his. Like,
right? Yeah. If you just say, "Here's the outfit that someone's walking out," yeah, and that's
like,
so funny because it's so true.
Becky, Seth, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think.
Yeah, I have seen some interviews with Becky where she was, she seems a little bit. I don't know. Like, the problem is it's hard to tell when a wrestler is doing an in-character interview or a not in-character interview. But she seemed a little salty that Seth isn't like in the place where Roman is and stuff like that.
That's probably real.
Right. Yeah. So
it's probably a little bit of both, actually.
Yeah. Right. Which is the beauty of it. But you know, I'd like to see more of Seth again. You know, take everything we're saying currently with a grain of salt because we don't know the history leading up to this stuff. Mm-hmm. We're diving back into it. So when I say I'd like to see more of Seth, that's not me saying there's not enough Seth in the WWE. It's me saying I personally would like to see more matches that have Seth Rollins in it, in them.
I did see some mixed feelings about like where his character has been going. They feel like it's a little bit too eccentric and it's kind of like where is it leading and what is it doing, and prior his character that he had established right before this kind of strange turn people really seem to like a little bit more, so curious to see if they like rein that in, because there also are some concerns with this, you know, the crowd is singing his song that like it might go a Fandango route where it's just kind of like he comes out, people sing a song and like that's the end of it and that's all Seth does, and obviously for somebody of his talent and, you know, and he's in kind of like a good prime, right? Like, don't waste it. So,
yeah, I was gonna say, you know, we're gonna end up dipping. It's just the nature of the fact that we did this so much later than like normal. There's a whole week of wrestling after WrestleMania already, so there's so much for us to jump around to. So when we get to my planned recap segment, it's probably gonna be very short. But
that's right.
Yeah. The Raw after Mania with Seth Rollins walking out and just singing with the crowd and then walking back off stage, unreal. Like literally, I can't describe it in any other way because it was so surreal. Just when he started, he started to walk back, like out of the ring and just back behind the stage, and I was like, what's going on?
I legit thought I missed something.
Right.
I was tweeting or I was looking at Twitter or something. Trying to get like an idea of like how did people feel about the crowd singing his song again, and like, you know, looking some things up, and then I look up and he's walking away and I'm like,
I don't know.
Like, did someone come out?
So
did he say something? Did I miss something?
Speaking of, we'll have to get you the Midcard podcast Twitter account on your phone as well, so that, you know,
so you can stop stealing all of my great
funnier
lines.
Than me.
Everything that's funny that's tweeted is me saying it and him just tweeting it after I said it.
That's probably true.
I am pretty funny.
So, okay. But so we had the Seth Rollins and the Logan Paul match. Very good. Then, unfortunately, we had the Becky Lynch and Lita, Trish Stratus, Becky Lynch. Oh no, I'm sorry, not unfortunately. Well, sort of unfortunately.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the next day.
Yeah.
But Becky Lynch, Lita, and Trish Stratus versus Damage Control match. What was it? Is it tag? Was it just a
three women tag match?
So
love Lita. I was very surprised when I learned through playing 2K23 for WWE,
which we'll probably stream at some point.
That she is involved. Right, I must have missed something because I used to follow her on social media. I think I unfollowed her. And I was like, wait, Lita's back? You know, and for somebody who grew up watching her and idolizing her, I was super excited at first, but the kind of thought of, you know, why is she still so involved and with that title on her? And then, you know, kind of seeing the match, you know, she did do her lead assault, right? That was exciting, but I think she, you know, she was very injury prone. She had a lot of injuries when she had originally kind of retired and stepped back, and I don't know if it's right for her to keep going.
Yeah, you know, it's always great to see the legends come out like that, and you know, they have their place. Like, oh my God, Stone Cold. Even I knew who Stone Cold was, right? Back when I was a kid. So seeing him come out last year at WrestleMania, I was so hyped for that. As someone who had never watched more than one single match of wrestling, I was so hyped for Stone Cold to come out, and you know, so they have their place. But it's weird to have her in a 3-woman tag match for a title.
Yeah, and then Trish Stratus with the two of them, it maybe time to break them up, have someone turn heel. I know Damage Control also is kind of getting the brunt of things, and they're almost like jobbers at this point. So I know there's a lot of talk about that, which as we get into some of the recent announcements we've heard, right, there may be the chance to break that up, but. Yeah. I think, you know, the WWE right now has a lot of talented women, and it seems like they're almost lost with what to do with them, and having legends consistently be in the show and not just like a WrestleMania showcase or something like that, I think is really hurting them, and I do think they need to start trying to figure things out. Match wasn't bad, just was a little lackluster because Damage Control has lost a lot of matches continuously, and, you know, it just wasn't as exciting as it could be. If someone like Becky Lynch wrestling, and it's almost like, I don't want to say she's being dragged down by Lita, but it's kind of like, you know, what can you do with somebody who can't do too much in the ring, and right. You know, and then you have just a team that's just on a losing streak.
Yeah, right.
And they don't seem to be meshing together really, and you know, there wasn't a lot of good chemistry with the tags.
Yeah, you know, it's yeah, like you said, it wasn't a bad match, but there is just a lot. There's a lot to unpack there. So you know, hopefully we can see some better momentum, and also like you mentioned, there's just a lot of confusion in regards to the women in the WWE right now, and what the direction's supposed to be. It feels like so. You know, fingers crossed that will change soon. So after that. Then we had another classic match, the Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio, which getting caught up on the Dominic Mysterio drama was incredible because who came up with this nonsense?
I'm sad, actually, that we didn't get to witness it, like, organically.
Yeah, I am too.
I was excited about the potential Judgment Day, right? We kind of watched the dawn of that last year in WrestleMania. You know, and then it seemed like Edge needed to kind of step down, and they kind of found some new footing, adding Finn, and then throwing like Dominic and Rhea in there, and it's just kind of like, I love the off-site segments, the backstage segments, like, you know, going to Rey's house, like,
oh my God,
all of that is what I love.
Opening the door with his mask is the best.
Which somebody pointed out that I think he like started to open the door without it and then like went and put it on. And so like people were making the joke like, oh, let me go get my like answering the door mask. Like, but it's just, you know, they interrupt Thanksgiving, they interrupt Christmas, and it's kind of like a play off of, you know, like your son is dating some girl you don't like or vice versa, right? Like, and you know, even though he's a grown adult, it's kind of like this teenager acting out, and it's so great. And that's like my favorite part of wrestling is really like the kind of storytelling, the outside of the ring stuff. Like obviously I love actual wrestling,
right?
But I really like.
I think the storytelling really takes it. It elevates it to a level beyond, which, you know, we'll get into when we talk about AEW and why I think long term my preference will be for WWE over AEW, but. Again, I can appreciate both for what they are, and you know, they can. I don't like the us versus them mentality. I think both can and should exist.
Products.
Right? They cater to different people. They offer different experiences, and I think that's awesome. NJPW as well. I want to start watching that because I've heard nothing but amazing things about them and how talented those people are. But besides the point, the match itself between Dominic and Rey was great. The entrances good.
Dominic's
coming
in the police.
The police.
He's like 3 days in jail.
Oh yeah, changes a man. And then, of course, that poor person who decided to accidentally use the Auschwitz footage for the compilation.
I mean, they edited that out, like, immediately, though. Like, once they figured that out, it was not in any of the replays.
I'm sure it was absolutely... I guarantee you, whoever was doing it was just Googling, like, tragic prison images, and, like, that obviously came up, and so they put it in, and, it was an oversight. Again, I wouldn't have noticed. If someone handed me, like, a lineup of pictures, and they were like... do any one of these stand out? I probably wouldn't, pick it out without looking at it intensely, right? Like to say, like, what could I note? But
and without any kind of like clue in, right? Like to think about it. It's not like somebody said anything and your mind was like, do any of these remind you of the Holocaust, right? Like, and then you're gonna immediately pick it up if you're just thinking about it from a term of like prison, jail, like you're not really considering that. And I think based on how quick they were to remove it, and they did issue an apology also. Like some people were trying to claim they did it on purpose, which is silly
a stupid
to me.
Thing to say,
But based on how they reacted, like it was just very clear. It was a very simple mistake. The person just did not realize it. I'm sure they had a lot of stuff to do, and they're just compiling images. That's like I said, that's not in the forefront of your mind. You're just like, yeah, prison, go.
Yeah. So, anyway, but it was a great entrance, other than that one little blip. And of course, Ray being driven in on Snoop Dogg's lowrider with, I think it was Eddie's music playing, right? Yes. Eddie Guerrero? So good. Classic. And again, I'm a little bit more familiar with Ray than I might otherwise be because of WWE 2K22, the showcase. So, that helped. But, very good story there. And God, the match was good. Bad Bunny pulling that chain away from Dominic, which, oh my God, I can't. We'll get because we got to talk about SmackDown from last night. God, that heat. But that match was good. I was going into it. I saw people on Twitter were like, if Dominic hits Ray with the 619, I'm never watching WWE again. And thankfully, he did not. But
I will say, I mean, we watched Dominic last year, kind of enter into WrestleMania, and he wasn't great, right? He seemed very lost. From what I heard, Brady's character was basically just, I'm Ray's son, which doesn't bring anything out. And, in his wrestling Logan Paul was a much better wrestler than he was last year. So to see Dom's progression without being able to watch anything last year and just coming back into WrestleMania.
Right, you see,
this guy, getting this huge heat. And reveling in it, right? Like he was just very into it, and then getting into character and arguing with his mom, throwing the water in his sister's face, it was just very different. Like Dom day one basically to Dom a year later. It's like wow, he really did blossom, and I think this was a great move for him as a wrestler and as a character.
Yeah, how old is he? Because he's still pretty young, right?
Yeah, I would say early 20s. I don't know.
Because he looks young. He looks like a teenager.
He does look like a child.
He looks like a teenager.
Makes it easy to get into the idea that maybe this is a teenager acting out, arguing over a car.
Oh my, I saw that clip. He was saying all his friends showed up with a new Mercedes and he had a BMW.
It's like, you got me the black iPhone and not the white iPhone type thing. I love it though. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's so... That was a good match. It was a good match. I enjoyed it. And again, the story build up there kind of made that. Anyway, after that... Oh, right. Then we had Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley.
Yes. Good match.
It was a good match. There were some moments that were... It's weird. It's like... And you had mentioned this, that I guess Eddie Guerrero had said that to... What was it?
To build up a crowd, you have to kill them first. And so they're riding the high off of a bunch of great matches, and this match was very slow to start. And so it was a little quiet, but once they started to get going, I mean, that crowd was loud.
Yeah.
They had some crazy moments, some close calls. I thought Charlotte was going to have a broken nose.
Yeah, that was a German suplex, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And it was like, what?
She oversold
the running theory is, Charlotte oversold it, and so she ended up just gashing her nose, something
she flipped
fierce.
Extra. Yeah. It was crazy. But two very talented women.
Yes, definitely.
And you could tell Charlotte was very happy to put Rhea over.
Wow, you're being really professional right now.
I don't like her because her character is made for me not to like, and it's from playing the games where I constantly had to fight her 200 times, and she's just like, I'm Charlotte Flair, and I'm like, cool, great. So in my head, I'm just like, no, I hate her, but she is a good wrestler. she does try to put talent over, right? Like she's not just in it for herself.
That shot at the end of her trying not to smile.
Yeah,
was
and she was
beautiful.
clearly like very
very happy for Rhea, which
and
is
I think
nice.
she stepped away for some.
She's taking a break. She's taking a break.
Hiatus. It wasn't anything to do with any of the other stuff going on.
Because she had also said in an interview shortly, like right before WrestleMania, I think that she wants to like go for her father's titles and records.
Yeah.
Right. She wants to chase her father's records. So.
Yeah, and I think she just turned 36, so she just had a birthday, so she was like on vacation for her birthday, things like that. But
she'll be back, I'm sure. Yeah. She, much like her father, that's her life, and that's great. That's I love that about like the WWE is a lot of the people who are in it and who have been well, some might say fortunate enough to go far in it. It's their life and they love it. I mean, the Undertaker is the prime example. Obviously, that guy,
my boy,
he's great. So, but that's one thing I love about it is it's just so, like the people involved are so dedicated and it is so awesome to see. So, is there anything specific else? I mean, obviously, again, the thing that sticks out in my mind is how dead the crowd was at first and how they managed to build it up. And the German suplex bailing or whatever that effed up her nose. I don't
think so. I mean, like I said, just great display of their talent and Rhea being able to come up and
Thankfully, we didn't have the same issue with WrestleMania from last year with Charlotte.
Oh yes, her little slip there.
Her wardrobe malfunction.
I forgot. I was like, what?
It was quick, and not a lot of people caught it, and we didn't even catch it. I actually no, I did.
You did. I did. You said you thought, and then I found the gif of it after.
Yeah. So, but so then we had the start of a record after that, a WrestleMania record-breaking trend here. We had Pat McAfee, who I'm also not super fond of, but he's fine. He's fine. He's I think obviously again on purpose for the most part, but he showed up and he had a match with The Miz, sort of.
In his WrestleMania tank.
Yeah, that's his wrestling gear, which I can respect. His WrestleMania gear is wrestling gear is a tank top and like jeans basically.
Yeah.
But I love The Miz. I'm a big fan of The Miz. The Miz's $10,000 suit that he wrestled in. So that was fun. Nice little promo. And then finally you had that very, very good match with the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship.
And we had another title change hands.
Yes, title change hands. By this point in the night, we were inebriated.
Yes.
Because we decided to do a drinking game for WrestleMania.
Bad idea.
Great idea, but we need a little bit of refinement.
We should have really looked at the matchups before one of the rules was take a sip every time a pin is kicked out.
The first match was like, there were 8 of them.
And then, what was it, Charlotte? Who was killing us? Was it Charlotte and Rhea?
Maybe. I know John Cena and Austin Theory were killing us.
I mean, there was a lot of that, and it was, there was just one match, I think it was the Charlotte Rhea match, where we were just, consistently, so we were pretty drunk by the time that this match came up. Yeah,
in fact, that rule might have even been worse than the joke rule online of people saying every time they say Hollywood, take a drink. Because it was obviously, but... Anyway, that match, the Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens match, again, another one that I'm sad that the build-up to we weren't able to see.
That sounded like a really good storyline.
I've seen more and more clips of that, the Bloodline and Honorary Uce, Sami Zayn and all that, and we're still seeing the aftermath and the continuation of that. It's very interesting. I think it's, I actually think it has a lot of potential. I know a lot of people are kind of sick of, like, the Bloodline and Roman winning everything, although they always manage to find the people at WrestleMania who are unbelievably hyped for the Bloodline, like every time in the pre-show.
Yeah, I will say, like, there are people who are tired of Roman's reign, but they really like the Bloodline storyline and how it's been built, and like apparently over the past year it's really progressed to like this great build-up. So again, sad that we missed the organic build-up of it, but happy to go back and watch all the clips because very good storyline. Still continuing to go, and obviously there's, as we'll get into, SmackDown later, like, will they, won't they type of thing, right? Like, and where you're excited, and, but I think the match itself, great. I was getting a little tired of all the super kicks after a while.
Yo, real talk. Can the Usos,
good.
Do they have any other move than the super kick? Because
I will give them credit. They don't do the knee slap on it or thigh slap to like sell it. They really do go in, but it's just like every 2 seconds. I felt
like there were like 15 or 16 super kicks in that match.
Thank God we didn't put anything for drinking on that because we would have been dead. Yeah. But I was just like, towards the end of the match, I was just kind of like, oh my God, stop. Like, it just kept happening. Yeah. And I know that it's kind of like, a signature for them. Like, but it was killing me. Everyone else seemed excited about it. Like, another one! And I was just like, no, stop. Like, I don't want to see any more super kicks.
I like throws and power bombs and rope moves and stuff, so it's like, it's fine. Like, the spear, it's fine. Spear's, spear's fine. It's big. It hits hard. It hits hard. But, like, for me, like, I like the F5 more. The F5 is a pretty cool move. I like, who I just saw, was it Sami Zayn had that blue something move? Like, I don't know everything yet. But I think he pulled it on Jay last night. He did. He hit. I'll have to look it up. But like anything that's like a powerbomb adjacent, choke slam adjacent, anything that he pulls up into a fireman carry, anything like that. I love that stuff. And then the high flyer stuff is awesome. I love anything from the top rope, which is why when I play 2K, I will make like a gigantic 7.5 foot tall guy who goes up onto the top rope and jumps flips because apparently that's the thing you can do. But that's also why I was so impressed by the Ivar moonsault.
Yeah, he's a big dude. So I was really impressed by that too. I thought that was great. Yeah. Especially because it doesn't seem like he does a lot of risky moves. Obviously, he's a big guy. And you saw last night, right? A lot of his moves were kind of more body-esque or twists versus like a flip. Yeah. So it was nice to see him do that.
But, the conclusion of that match was awesome. Yep. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens pulled off the win, which I think is great for them, but also great storytelling because now we're seeing the aftermath of that with the bloodline is crumbling and all that.
What happens when you're not a winner?
Yeah, so I think it was great on 2 levels, right? I was really hyped with that, and WrestleMania Night 1 was incredible. We were so excited after that, and then unfortunately we went into WrestleMania Night 2. Needless to say, neither of us are Homo sapiens.
No.
We had our first match, Brock Lesnar. I love Brock Lesnar. I actually love Brock Lesnar.
He's growing on me. I've seen some interviews lately, like some, off-the-cuff interviews with him, and his wrestling knowledge is great, and he does seem like he cares about the business. My, history with Brock is basically getting out of wrestling when he kind of started and seeing him kind of go, like, right to part-time very early in, and then taking the Undertaker streak, which I know that the Undertaker did that, right? Like, that was his decision, but that killed me. Been an Undertaker fan since I was, like, 4 years old, so I always just kind of had, like, a dislike for him, but getting back into things and seeing some more behind the scenes with him, I will, give him some more respect than I have in the past, so.
So I like Brock, and, Omos is boring. Like, I'm sorry. And I don't think it's his fault. Don't get me wrong.
It's a very Vince McMahon, like, character. He loves the big giants. Yeah. He loves the story of, like, big giant invincible man. Like,
and, like, if you want to make Omos, like, win, that's fine, right? If you want to push him hard, that's fine. But do we need to have this scenario where he not only wins all the time, but also, like, nothing matters?
Yeah, it's like, moves don't hurt him, or, you can't lift
Brock,
him up.
He did something that kind of, like, sort of faced him, which is nice, but, like, it was a short match. Brock lost after maybe doing one thing that Omos was like, oh. They're not fun to watch, right? Yeah. It's very one-sided, very uninteresting, so I know they're going to keep pushing it. I'll see if I can pull up that TikTok video or later. We'll see, but... where they did like I don't know. I couldn't tell if it was the AI voice or if it was just someone just voicing it over saying I'm Vince McMahon. But either way, we went from that boring match to a shitty match. We had our Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler. Sorry, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler versus Natalya and Shotzi versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Fatal 4-Way Showcase match.
Why? So I think they tried to do a few interesting things. Obviously, something happened with Shayna, and I don't even think there's been a kayfabe explanation at all. They just aren't, like, Ronda and Shayna are just, like, MIA. I haven't heard anything, so maybe I've missed something. But, like, Shayna clearly Ronda was already hurt. And something clearly happened to Shayna because they were, like, invisible the whole time. Yeah. Until the very end when, surprise, they win.
Ronda Rousey wins.
I think the other women did a good job trying to kind of do what the men did night one.
It was actually somewhat of an interesting match. They looked like they were having fun.
Yeah, getting, a whole bunch of them involved, doing some crazy things. As much as Liv and Raquel don't seem like they would be a good matchup, they do a great job utilizing Liv's smallness basically to Raquel's like height and having her like lift her up and flip her around. Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting.
Liv brings a lot of great energy to the match too. Yeah. Always, I like the matches that I've seen her, and she seems very excitable, which is fun, right? Yeah. And it's good. And so I was actually surprised to see Sonya Deville in in the match. Who looks just like her boss.
She looks like my boss.
It's so uncanny.
Every time I see her, I just refer to her as my boss. So it's funny. But yeah, like I was surprised to see her too because I wasn't really sure what her involvement was at this point either.
Yeah.
And her match, pairing with Chelsea Green seems pretty funny.
Yeah. I like Chelsea Green too. I that was my first time seeing her. I liked what I saw. She seems funny. She seems, talented, and she seems like she'd be a lot of she seems like another strong addition to the women's roster in WWE that isn't being utilized properly. When was that Dana Brooke sign being held up? Because that was another.
I can't remember.
Was that Raw after Mania or was it
during WrestleMania? Or maybe it was Raw.
No, I think it was Raw after Mania because So, but Dana Brooke, another person who's not being utilized all that well. We never talked about that NXT event. What was it called? It's just something that popped into my head.
Oh yeah, I want to say
Stand and Deliver.
Yes.
Yeah, so we did watch that, or part of that before WrestleMania.
Scrolled through some of the matches.
Yeah, we watched the Gigi Dolan et al. Indy Hartwell ladder match.
Yeah.
Dexter Lumis. So just not to go off on a too big of a tangent. That just popped into my head. Because I think the NXT actually has a lot of very talented women as well, or women with a lot of potential talent who could use a little bit more development. But that's just it just popped into my head. But yeah, overall we were pissed with the ending of that match because
and then,
fuck Ronda Rousey.
And then it didn't really make sense because they win, so they should have a title match shot, and then it's like next night they're not involved at all, and Liv and Raquel are contenders, right? Like, it just very strange. And again, like I said, if they had done some kind of like kayfabe thing, it would make more sense. But I feel like they just glossed over. And you saw like Shayna was missing a shoe, not really sure exactly what happened there.
We missed
She could barely she was like hobbling around. They just and then Ronda, she can barely even do her armbar because I think she like shattered or broke her like elbow or something like that.
Just get her out. Just get her out. She talks shit on the WWE. I don't like her. She's boring. She's not a good wrestler.
And she'll probably be back at Backlash for something. So it's just whatever. So
we do not like Ronda Rousey.
Any potential excitement for that match or anything that happened that was exciting just got ruined by the ending. So
yeah.
Especially for two wrestlers that were not involved at all in the match, just come out of nowhere and win it.
Yeah, and
just kind of took all the wind out. Right, it was just like, oh, all right, cool.
Yeah. Then we moved on to a pretty good match. I think it was possibly. No, okay. The next few matches were pretty good. We had Drew McIntyre and Gunther and Sheamus.
Yes. Forgot all about that. That was great.
It was a good match.
A lot of chops.
A lot of chops. A lot of slaps. Banger after banger after banger after banger after banger after banger.
Yeah, I think Gunther, Sheamus' ongoing kind of like little feud and obviously continuing after their very good matchup.
Yeah.
But a really good match. Not sad that there was no title change, right? Like, it was still exciting for Gunther to retain, but I wanted a title change just because I was just like, oh, that'll be fun. But, not the way it went, but it was still very exciting. Didn't change how I felt about the match at all.
I think the Imperium, which is the stable that Gunther runs, I guess, is very cool because, like, usually they're all, like, edgy or, like, crazy, wild, and this is just like, no, we are very strict, like, it's interesting. And dare I say, risky of them to have the Austrian man lead the Imperium. But
I mean, that's very good. So,
but I like it. I like it. I think they're good. We were commenting at first on Gunther's body, saying like because we were surprised at how young relatively he looked, because he looks like, and this is going to sound mean, but he looks, especially coming from me of all people, he looks like he has like an old man body. But then we found out he actually like lost a lot of weight, and that explains everything, because that's honestly that's how I'll probably look someday if I ever lose the weight.
Yeah, but his body change was very
impressive. Yeah,
and he was a good call up from NXT. Like he's very talented, and he's really good at selling moves too. Like he makes his opponents look strong and look great. So I think overall just his wrestling ability and just like the way he handles himself in the ring. Which surprised me, because at first, I think just from playing the games, I was kind of like, oh, this guy, like, and I know there's like a name change. He was like Walter before, and people were upset that
he?
Yeah, they changed his name.
Gunther's a much better name.
Yeah, and that's what I feel too. Yeah. But like people were upset about like some of the small changes that they made. But yeah, like getting to actually watch him wrestle versus like having to fight him in a game, because he's like supposed to be like my opponent, so now I hate him and I dislike him. Yeah, it was nice to actually get to experience him in real life, like, actually do something.
But, very, very talented. He's also one of, like, 10 wrestlers that has short hair, which is nice. I feel like there's...
Oh, really? I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff.
Oh, my God. It's crazy how many wrestlers have long hair. Like huge...
What? Think about, like, how difficult it is to wrestle with your hair down. Yeah. Like, think of how all the women do that. Like, that's some skill there.
I'm just saying. It's funny that there's, like, it's just... I'm just trying to think, right? Like, you've got... Especially, it's not fair to say this, but especially if you look back.
Oh yeah, well that was like,
but that was also
like the look.
But like you got Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, the Usos are they're not really long hair. Sami Zayn, then Kevin Owens, but so I guess I think it's less that there's an extremely large number of long-haired male wrestlers. I think it's just, as compared to a sample of the population, it's overrepresented long hair. Probably. So that's why it sticks out to me more, because I'm not used to seeing it as much. My youngest brother had his hair long for a very long time, and he was one of the few guys who I regularly saw who had long hair, and now he doesn't. But.
I grew up watching wrestling, and I'm a heavy metal fan, so it's like I don't notice. I'm not phased.
That's funny. It's just funny because like, and especially because like the Imperium, they have like the high and tight, so they're especially noticeable because it's like the far other.
Sheamus got his little short buzz.
yeah.
It adds like 3 inches to his height. I thought he was taller than Gunther, and I was surprised to find out he's like an inch or two shorter, and I was like, no way.
Sheamus has been a wrestler that I liked ever since I saw him in the Royal Rumble, and like I said, I think 2011, I was like, that guy looks cool! He's crazy Irishman. Drew McIntyre also... Can we talk about how we saw clips of him from years ago, and he looks so young?
Yes. And because he had no beard.
I would not even be able to like...
That's Drew McIntyre? Yeah. Like, what?
Yeah. If you were to show me these two pictures, I'd say these are not the same people. I'm sorry. That was crazy.
I was like just amazed, because I think we watched Royal Rumble 2010 or something. Yes. And I was just like, what? And then you just put them side by side. And Sami Zayn also looks completely different when you don't see his crazy hair and beard either.
Yeah. So after the Drew McIntyre Sheamus Gunther match, we had Bianca Belair versus Asuka.
I'm sad because we're big Asuka fans.
Yes,
so.
big Asuka.
She's had obviously a tremendous run in the WWE, even in NXT and things like that. But Bianca's kind of like the John Cena, I think now.
They're calling her Jane Cena.
Yeah. Oh, I hate Jane. I don't like that. But yeah, so I wasn't surprised for her to retain. And she does a lot of good as the champion, right? So you can't. I don't want
I'm not upset. It's like the only reason I'm upset is because I love Asuka, not because I have any problem with Bianca being champion. Yeah. She's great. Yeah, she's very talented,
super strong,
very strong. Oh my God, her explosive power in that match was crazy to watch.
Yeah, I liked. And we watched her last year too. And it was nice to see. Like, she's just really talented. Yeah. And obviously Asuka's a great technical wrestler as well, and I like, Asuka's has such a personality, right?
Yeah.
Like her entrance, and like, kind of like this new character where she's a little bit more
the Empress of Tomorrow, the Queen of Chaos.
Yeah, so she, She
the
definitely
Photoshop god.
Yeah. Yeah, she's funny outside of the ring.
Yeah, big fan.
Talking about Bubble Bobble this morning on Twitter.
Nice.
She buys like arcade machines and things like that. So
yeah, so we're very biased. We're very pro Asuka here.
I also tried to dye my hair like her a little while ago. I only got one half, but I tried real hard. So
well, one day you'll finally do what I tell you to do and go get it done professionally.
No.
Okay.
I'll have Asuka do it. She actually has a hair salon in Japan. So,
she's got to move to Japan. Long life goals. I hear it's super easy.
Oh yeah, it only takes like 10 years.
Yeah, they open their borders to let anybody in. That's what I hear.
But yeah, great match. Sad for Asuka, but like I said, can't fault them for having.
Yeah, no, I'm not right. I'm not upset with the decision or anything like that. Just I like to see Asuka win, but. It was a great match. Both sides were really kind of putting on display the best of what they do. So it was fun to watch. Good match. That might have been. I was really gonna say about the Drew McIntyre one. I was like, that might have been the match of the night. And then I looked and I was like, that might have been the match of the night. I was like, oh, that might have been the match of the night. And then obviously that might have been the match. Of the night. So next up we have Edge versus Finn Balor in the Hell in a Cell match.
Yep. Which I think could have been better had Finn's skull not get spliced open there. So
yeah, that was rough.
I did hear. So again, we didn't really get a lot of the lore leading up to everything. It sounds like Edge had already kind of gotten his revenge, along with Beth Phoenix. So like she had gotten attacked, and like they already kind of had a match where like Edge got to win, and so people were kind of disappointed that Edge won. They felt like maybe Finn should have won, especially because Edge is kind of on hiatus again, and it just seemed a little strange. So I know that kind of upset a few people. They weren't sure if maybe it was just a call because of what happened in the ring.
Right.
And also, we found out too, Finn, I think, had a torn calf or something.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this guy was just entering the ring injured, getting injured in the ring, to the point where the match had to be put on hold while they kind of figured out why he was bleeding so profusely.
Yeah.
So it kind of, I think, took a lot of the momentum of the match away.
Yeah.
And they kind of went through the rest of the match not as intense as it probably would have been.
Yeah. And it's a shame because, and again, not faulting them for this decision, but it is when you have the demon Finn Balor who's like this unstoppable force, and then all of a sudden the doctors have to come out and take a look at his head. It's like, also I hated the grunts. I know some people love it. I hate the grunts. I hate the noises. I don't like that.
Yeah, I think if
not the biggest Finn Balor fan. He's not that he's bad. I think he's fine. I think it was just not my thing.
Some of the hot mics, I think, pick it up so much that it gets a little strange. Yeah, but yeah, I agree.
I think it was a great match. Yep. I think Edge, from what I've heard online, people say Edge is phenomenal in cage matches.
Yes.
So that's always great, and the goofy color-coded kendo sticks and chairs was fun.
And the table.
And the table even was and
when Edge put the kendo sticks inside the cage to trap him, that was all great. That was moments before then Finn's head got split open. Yeah. So
blood everywhere. I was like, oh man, there's a lot of blood on that mat. I guess maybe the doctors should take a look. And then originally it was reported that he got numbing agent before, but then he was like, there was
he
no...
He said absolutely not. They're
so
they went out, gave him a couple quick staples, and then numbed it, and he's just like, no. He went back into the match.
More specifically, they numbed it first and then stapled it, because otherwise he just got staples right in the head. It was big. It was it was,
I think it was 14 staples overall.
Huge.
So, I mean...
Good for him.
Kudos to him. That's insane. Sucks that obviously it kind of turned how the match turned out, but still overall good match.
Yeah, still a good match. Again, could have been better, but not because of anything that anyone did, just because that's how it played out. Unfortunate
circumstance.
But very good match, and again, the only complaint is I can see how it could have been even better.
Yeah.
But nobody's fault on that one. Nobody's to blame. Then we had definitively the match of the night. When Shane McMahon came out to wrestle The Miz, and then in classic McMahon fashion,
they're cursed.
tore his quad like 5 seconds into the match.
I was literally in the kitchen getting some snacks, and I heard the music, and I hear him screaming from the other room, like, Shane's back! And then he's like, I think he tore his quad, and I thought he was joking. I was like, ha 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 ha, very funny. And then, no, actually. And then WWE kind of wrote that out, because every time they show a recap, there's no mention of Shane
They
at
just
all.
skip right to Snoop Dogg, which props to him, and it was
Jessica Carr.
Yeah. Great ref Jessica Carr. She called in for the impromptu, and then Snoop Dogg lived up to it. He came in, he knocked out The Miz, and then he delivered the greatest People's Elbow in the history of People's Elbow, rivaled only by last year's Vince McMahon Stone Cold Stunner Cell.
Oh.
But that was great. That was a fun, goofy, wild. It's a perfect encapsulation of why wrestling is so great when things go wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that, obviously Shane, at first we thought he just like blew a knee, but then I've heard that it was in fact a torn quad, which is just too funny. Although at that point, I wouldn't be surprised if they lied about it just to say, no, it's way better if we say he tore his quad. But
Kayfabe quad.
Torn quad. But yes, that was funny. That was great. Snoop Dogg, good on him. WWE Hall of Famer Snoop Dogg. I gotta put some respect on the name.
Yeah, I'm sad I missed it, but I can see all the recaps. Except that I can't see Shane now if I watch through the WWE because.
Well, we can still watch the recap on Peacock. I'm pretty sure it's still there.
They probably deleted it.
But
who's Shane McMahon?
Yeah, right.
Don't know him.
So then we had the final match of the night, which was a good match. And man, the entrances on this match were better than the match.
Oh, yeah. The pianos.
Roman Reigns, final boss music versus Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. At first...
well, Cody Rhodes came out first.
I thought Roman came out first.
No, I'm pretty sure Cody Rhodes came out first, and he had his politician walk, prime minister walk, kissing babies.
Kissing the mat. Yeah, that's right. I forgot he was kissing everyone, and then he kissed the mat that just had blood all over it.
He gave his belt to...
Brody Lee's son.
Yes. Yep. So, and again, the crowd for his entrance music, that is so cool. Like, goosebumps moment, so great.
The hype.
Yeah. And then again, you have the Roman Reigns piano.
There's like 7 pianos, and they're just... Yeah, and the slow walk, I mean...
It was like 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, let's just say it took about 8 minutes.
It was crazy.
It's a huge moment, right? So, don't fault them for the lengthy entrances. It's a big build-up, it's a big moment. It's WrestleMania main event. So, great on them. I think production and everything like that was fantastic. Beautiful.
Yeah, and and I liked watching the match. It was those guys are both very good at what they do. I saw fewer spears than I thought I was going to. Yeah, I was expecting a lot more.
Last year there was like
spear after spear.
Yeah, it was kind of.
It was Roman Reigns versus who was it last year? It was Brock. It was Brock Lesnar, right?
Was it?
I think it was. I think it was.
I think
I'm gonna double check now.
Blanked that out of my head. But yeah, I overall wonderful, great match, and then obviously the end upset tons of people.
Brock Lesnar, yeah.
The crowd's reaction, right? And I think that speaks volumes, right? Obviously, I was upset at first because it just seemed like with the build-up, this was just Cody's gonna win. That's it. You can't have it go any other way.
And I had said, and this is something that I'm sure is going to come across as we continue this podcast about me. I always look for the most charitable interpretation of things. I always try to find basically I try to really what it boils down to is I try to find ways to avoid being too negative about things like this if I can help it. So what I said is if Cody had won that match, people would not be talking about it as much.
Yeah.
They wouldn't. They would have loved it. They would have been hyped as heck in the moment. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily that what happened is the right move, right? I'm just saying that it is a move, and they can do things with it. Now, I have seen a lot of very compelling arguments in the last day or two about how it could have been better if Cody had won and what they could have done. And I agree, right? There are definitely a lot of things that could have been better about it if they won. But then maybe at that moment they were like, we have plans. We know what we're going to do with this. And we know that if Cody loses in a banger of a match, WrestleMania Night 2 main event, it is going to have people talking about the WWE for weeks.
Yeah. And I think, too, it seems like what's going on with the Bloodline, they're not done yet. So how do you have Roman lose when you haven't really, like, it seems
they're
like
doing...
in order for Roman to lose, you have to have the Bloodline crumble because everyone's interfering for him, everyone's supporting him in matches. He basically needs to be left on his own, and that isn't set up yet.
They're doing a fizzle out story, really. Yeah. So, which would have come instead of if Cody had won, it would have been more like just an abrupt ending.
Yeah.
Roman ended the story, by the way. But it would have been an abrupt ending, and that's not what they wanted. They want to have this Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, all that.
They're introducing more.
There's more to it than just Cody and Roman.
And what do you do with Cody after that, right? Who's the next big guy to fight him?
People are arguing that you could, because now Brock Lesnar isn't allowed to challenge Roman Reigns for the title, but he would be allowed to challenge Cody. So again, definitely there are options no matter how you look at it. But I can see that, it looks like the WWE is planning on doing more of a fizzle out story, the fall of the Bloodline. I don't know, I keep saying fizzle out, but that makes it sound like the story is fizzling out. No, like the story of the fall of the Bloodline rather than just having an instantaneous collapse and a new story. So
where you haven't closed all of the open ends right now. Yeah. So I agree. I think at first I was very shocked. I mean, I felt like there was a couple people in the audience that were just like,
oh,
and that was me at first. I was just like, bro, they have been building this up. Are you kidding? And even for people just getting back into it, we knew how built up that was. And so I was just, shocked. But that also is, like you said, right? That's the thing that gets people talking. And, obviously, I forgot who said it, but they said, if you're the person who said, I'm not watching anymore, I'm turning this off because Cody lost, then the...
mission accomplished.
Yeah, that's exactly what they want. Right?
Because you're also coming back.
Yeah, and you're going to keep listening and watching for, hints that maybe he'll win again so you can turn it back on, right? But, you're not done. Yeah. And they've gotten this emotional reaction out of you, right? That means that they did a good job. If Cody won, you're like, yeah, I saw that coming.
Right. You say, good, I got what I wanted. Yeah. And then that would have been it. You would have been satisfied, absolutely. And I'm not going to pull... I saw some people on Twitter saying, this is the instant gratification generation. Global. I was like, okay, let's take a step back. Yeah. But not for nothing, there is a little bit of validity to the idea of you would have been satisfied and happy that night, but then the next night you would have been like, what now? Yeah. Whereas now you were, you're like, you're emotional, you're upset.
And how are they going to build
But you're
back?
invested still. Yeah. It's not like, that's what it is. If they had ended it, if Cody had won, your investment would have dropped, right? And you would have had to build up new investment in this story. Whereas now, you are still invested.
Yep.
You are. And it makes it easier for them to keep kind of trudging along. And again, as long as they do a good job, which... Monday night, maybe it seemed like they weren't gonna, but now, we're a week later with a couple, so, we're optimistic here. Mm-hmm. We're optimistic here, but, I think overall, night 1 of WrestleMania, way better. Okay. I think it was so good. So good. Night 2 had some good matches, had some less good matches. Yeah. And
I will say night 1 was tough to beat.
Yeah.
I would have been very surprised if night 2 somehow was better. I would have wished it was a little bit more equal, but I think, there was just a couple of, things that were going on that just kind of didn't really get it.
We didn't even talk about my favorite part about WrestleMania Night 1. Which is when KSI revealed that he was in the Prime mascot.
And it was funny because, there were some talks of, who do you think's in Prime? And everyone's just like, oh, it's got to be, Jake Paul, forgetting all about KSI. So it was a big surprise. Which, to be fair,
KSI was the obvious choice because he's his business partner in Prime.
But totally forgot about him. And it seemed like everyone else did that I was talking to.
He had tweeted out earlier that day, or, I think it was Twitter, Instagram, something like, oh, leaving LA. And so, he was literally, trying to push away But yeah, so that was great, and I mean, he is an expressive guy. He is a funny guy. From what I've seen, I don't follow either of them really, other than I follow what Logan Paul terrible things he does.
Yeah,
I don't know a lot about KSI other than like I know he's very expressive. So when he rips off that mask and he's got that grin on his face, I was so. I was happy. It was so funny. It was
I didn't
so
think I could
awesome.
ever feel excitement for KSI. So
Right,
I was just like, what? Like, I was like thrilled.
And then, of course, Logan Paul frog splashing him through the table was so good. And like the photo ops afterwards, they're great. They're made for wrestling. And it's so funny because they are. They're made for wrestling. And it sounds like Logan Paul does agree with that sentiment. So, and even KSI was even hinting at wanting to get into the ring maybe next year at WrestleMania, which I have mixed feelings about the idea of celebrities just being like, I'm on WrestleMania when there's so many wrestlers who don't get onto it. But at the same time, like, they would draw numbers potentially, especially new people, right? If they can draw KSI fans in and be like, whoa, this is cool. And let's be honest, who better to bring into like wrestling to look at it than young KSI and Logan Paul fans? Because they'll be like, this is so cool.
Well, did you see them like trying to fight over the last Prime bottles? I mean, like, so
it's a tangent, but I completely forgot. I literally,
I meant to bring it up, and then we were talking about so many different things.
I had to get the gif of him because I loved it so much. Okay, so that's good. So we've talked about WrestleMania now. I don't think there's anything else from WrestleMania we're missing. So we're gonna talk about the next bit of news that came, which is the merger. So I'm sure. I mean, again, we're not news breaking here on this podcast. That's not our goal. But I feel we'll recap just in case anybody else hasn't.
Living under a rock.
Yeah, living under a rock, right? If we are your source of wrestling news, then
I feel like slowpoke meme right now.
Yeah. So Endeavor Group, which is the owner of UFC, they bought UFC a while back, is doing a merger with the WWE. They're going to have 51% ownership. The WWE is going to have 49% ownership. Again, the financial aspect, I'm not digging deep. So this is high level here. Yeah. The WWE is just going to basically be 49%, Endeavor's 51%, and they're going to be one merged company. So it's not technically an acquisition. They are forming a new company. No name yet that I've heard for it, but this is finalized, I'm pretty sure. So it's there's a lot of things people are concerned about with this. There are potential upsides as well. Like to be clear, it could go either way. But do I have a list here? I think I have a list here of things people are potentially concerned about this. Layoffs, yeah, layoffs of talent at the WWE would be not ideal. Again, and I don't want to take the look for the silver lining approach here like I usually do because you shouldn't really want to look for the silver lining for layoffs, but I'll do it anyway just to play devil's advocate. And again, full disclosure, I would not want to see anyone laid off in the WWE. That's not what I don't want that. But if they were to do that, how could they make it a better thing, right? That wouldn't just be crappy layoffs. More time to focus on the people you do have to build them up. Scout new talent potentially. That one's extra shitty though because then laying off people you have to scout new talent. Yeah. That's not good. But if you say, oh, we have 30 people on our, I don't know the numbers, right? Like we have 30 people on this brand right now, and only 15 of them are getting the spotlight, right? Well, if you go down to 20 of them instead of 30, then maybe 20 of them can get a spotlight instead of 50. So that's the only way. But again, we don't want layoffs. We would not like to see that. I haven't heard any actual plan. There's no known plans or anything. Wow.
Our company just went through the same thing. We heard the same corporate BS. No planned layoffs, and then 8% of our company was laid off. So I think a lot of the talks with layoffs though are about kind of like the redundant roles, HR, things like that, because you are merging companies together. So
true, right. If they get layoffs, it will be. Right.
I have heard that the potential star talent may not really be impacted, but again, it's going to depend on how they want to do things, what they're looking at, what the profits were,
right.
Whatever their corporate goals are, which we're not privy to. So,
right. But with any luck, any layoffs will be people who have an easy enough time finding a job in another company, another industry, not like wrestlers whose only options are AEW, NJPW, or nothing, right, or like indie. So that's hopefully how that'll go. Then another thing that was obviously a concern is the pay-per-view, because the way that UFC does things is expensive pay-per-views, and those prices have gone up since Endeavor took over the last few years. They have stated that they do not want to go back to pay-per-view. They want to continue doing the paid live events on like Peacock streaming and stuff. And that contract is still up for like a year, I think. But they have said that they admit that it would be short-sighted to chase revenue by switching to pay-per-view. So
I think the difference, right, between WWE and UFC is that WWE has a lot of sponsors, right? And like, you know, and because they have switched to more family-friendly content, they can keep and retain a lot of sponsors, where UFC, right, is a bit more violent.
Yeah. You don't see Conor McGregor fist bumping the Cinnamon Toast Crunch mascot on the way to the ring. So
yeah, so and you know, in a Snickers commercial.
Yeah.
So I think that is a saving grace there, and it may keep them on the PLE versus a pay-per-view.
And again, the WWE is not in a bad position monetarily, right? So it's not like this is a merger to save the WWE. It is, so which means it is being done in the theoretical idea of improving the product and doing better things for the company. So, you know, that also leads me to believe that they're not going to forsake what they have now that's doing well, because they do very well. It's just that they can take that up to an 11. So we're hopeful that it would not go to pay-per-view, because that would impact a lot of fans, right? Like, we could probably still do it because we're fortunate. There's a lot of people who couldn't and wouldn't, and they would probably just torrent it if they had to. But you know, we don't want to see that. We'd like to see them continue on this path, because I think it is a much better model that opens up the world of wrestling to a lot of people, and that's always good. More fans is better. More fans gets us better branding deals.
Yeah, I think it would hurt, you know, things like the non-Big Four, right, events for WWE, right? People will probably only buy specific pay-per-views if it went to that. And I remember, you know, being a child, right, wanting to see every pay-per-view. Obviously, my parents weren't down for that. My brother and his friends would all chip in to buy the ones that we could. But you miss so much, and then you're just watching the recaps, and it's not the same. Yeah.
Honestly, I would have probably gotten back into wrestling, I would have gotten into wrestling a lot sooner if I had realized that they had left the pay-per-view model, because back in 2011, it was. I went to I saw the Royal Rumble because my buddy got it on pay-per-view, because he was a big wrestling fan. Obviously, he did indie wrestling. But so I was like, yeah, I'll come watch it with you, sure. So if I had realized that they had switched to just like a Peacock subscription, I probably would have started watching a lot sooner. Although I did have to buy. We don't watch TV at all. No. So literally on Monday, I had to, because I didn't realize that like Raw and SmackDown and NXT aren't on Peacock. I just assumed everything was there, but it's not.
Well, they are like 8 weeks later.
Yeah. So to watch it live, I signed up for YouTube TV. So $72 a month that we've just added to our budget now for literally just for wrestling. So I was happy that I got to see WWE and AEW. We watched our first AEW Dynamite on Tuesday. We have Rampage to watch if we want recorded as well. But again, for now, our main focus is WWE. But some of what I saw in AEW made me say that this could be worth watching. I mean, not worth watching. It is worth watching, but worth me taking my more
extra,
time. Yeah, because like right now it's 3 hours for Raw, 2 hours for NXT, 2 hours for SmackDown. Well, yeah, we'll see. So that's like 7 hours for WWE every week right now, if there's no paid live events. So, you know, for people who go from watching 0 hours of TV a week to 7 is you know. I usually play video games is kind of my deal. So, and then what was the last thing? There was one more thing. Oh, right, of course, Vince being in charge. So there was an interview with Ari something, the guy who runs Endeavor, Ari, and he could not stop filleting Vince about how great and amazing he was, and his stupid fucking mustache. So
Vince
McMahon. We saw on Monday Night Raw after Mania.
My first Raw since like probably 2006.
And my first Raw.
Ever.
Period. Holy crap. That was bad. It was a terrible show. It was so bad. I was concerned. I was like, what is going on? There's no way that this is the product that is put out night after night and hasn't, gotten so many fans. Fun fact, it is not. I am confident in saying that. There's a lot of, we could go on a lot about that, actually.
So little happened in 3 hours. I think there was, maybe 30 minutes of wrestling total?
Maybe.
Supposed to have a commercial-free hour, and they didn't even do anything. There was, that 5-minute match.
Omos and Elias? Omos wasn't even supposed to wrestle. He was in catering. And apparently an old Vince rule was always have your gear.
Yeah.
Omos almost didn't. And like Elias, it was just surreal.
Yeah.
It was watching, I was like, what the hell is going on?
I was really confused. So almost no wrestling in the first hour. And then, the Seth Rollins, and I've heard mixed things. People who were at the event said he looked angry. Producers were talking to him. He threw the microphone. Other people were saying that was the whole scripted segment. It was just supposed to be him going out there, and that it's tough to understand truly what happened without, somebody like Seth himself telling you what happened, and obviously that's not going to happen. Yeah. So it's tough to figure out exactly what that was. If that was planned, what the fuck?
Why was it planned?
Yeah. I would much rather have found out that they scrapped something and kind of screwed up the timing and didn't catch him in time.
And they definitely did scrap some things because there were supposed to be women's matches.
Yeah, there was not Becky. Bailey was supposed to be involved in something and she was scrapped and it was
There's something going on with her too. I don't know the details, but
she seems upset, I think, about kind of the direction that Damage Control is going and, how her career is going.
Yeah.
So, and again, right, we kind of alluded to the fact that there's a lot of misuse of the women's division in WWE. Obviously, that was a sticking point for Sasha Banks last year, right, and had to do with her kind of walking out. So, there's definitely some turmoil going on backstage, whether or not Vince was involved. At that point, I think that was also building up. But clearly, a bunch of last-minute rewrites happening, and you could feel it just watching the show. Just seemed like it was disjointed. Nothing was flowing.
Yeah.
Triple H coming out promising everything staying the same, and then the whole show just seems to change from what everyone was telling you was going to happen.
You had you've got the legendary taken to a local medical facility with Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
Dropped from Monday Night Raw.
The
Vince Classic.
Vince doesn't like titles. He likes championships. It's one of those.
Yeah.
Where he has, very specific words that he likes to use. And
apparently there was the script with the yellow highlighter made the return. And this is also, again, this is all stuff I'm gathering from online because I don't know most of this from anything unless people tell me about it. So, everything from Monday seemed to indicate that Vince was in fact back in creative position, even though he had said that he wouldn't. He also had said that he would be open to entertaining suitors that would buy the company and not have Vince, and apparently every single person who was spoken to from other potential buyers had said, no, we would not buy the company if Vince was still there. And so he just happened to go with the one company that was willing to buy him with Vince there.
What a coincidence.
I think Vince just flat out lied. I think he was just telling people that he was willing to step back, but not at all. And, fair is fair. More power to him. He built the whole company, right? Okay. Most people don't want to be in charge of creative. And I can see why.
He's old. It's not like, Vince is still a 40-something-year-old man, right? He's had his time, and obviously Triple H brings a much better, a refreshing take for creative. And I think, Vince is very stuck in his ways. He always has been. And sometimes that works. And then sometimes it doesn't. And I think in this day and age, it doesn't more than it does.
I think that if Vince was able to have it as more of a collaborative process, it would be fine. But it seems like Vince is very my way or the highway when it comes to creative. So, and that's where it causes problems because, people want certain things that Vince doesn't want to give them. So it's, Monday night was a very scary night for a lot of people.
Yeah, it was strange. And
it seems but again, it was also still in LA where Vince was for WrestleMania.
Yeah. He had total access.
He was there already. Yeah, he had been there all weekend. So there we get to NXT the next night. And that was a great show.
Yeah, that was
great
fantastic.
Show. I guess, let me check back to my notes here. because we're kind of jumping around, but I think we're going in pretty...
I mean, there's not much to talk about in Raw because nothing happened.
Yeah, no, we're good. We're good. We hit the we talked about the Endeavor thing. We just rolled that right into Monday Night Raw and NXT. Okay, yeah, because it's really the best example. So I didn't miss anything. So NXT, great. And again, like I said, I think they have a lot of really good talent in NXT. Gigi Dolan seems very good. And who JC. Girl who came out during the Stand and Deliver and screwed over Gigi. That was funny. That was interesting.
And she cut a good promo.
Yeah.
She seems good, like on the mic type. Alba Fire and
Isla Dawn. Fire and Dawn.
Yep.
I like them. Very, very Scottish. But I like them. I like... Indy Hartwell seems fine. I think she could use a little bit more work on certain things. We saw her wrestling on NXT on Tuesday. I think she really did not sell the pin kickouts a lot of times. It was very weird to see her just kind of like sit up, and the other person was like, oh, like selling the, but so I think that, but again, my nitpicky things, I think her promos were a little rambly at first, but she got there. Her pin kickouts were not sold super well most of the time, but she was fine other places. She's the perfect example of using NXT to refine yourself more before getting called up.
Yep.
I also like Dexter Lumis. I haven't seen him wrestle, actually. So I have only seen him in the games, but from what I've seen in the games, I think I'm really going to like his character. So I want to see him actually do a promo and wrestle. Like the only thing I saw was at Stand and Deliver when he did his creepy slide under Indy and then lift her up for the title. So I think he's got potential to be someone I like a lot.
I like Pretty Deadly. I would. The fancy model boys.
Oh yeah,
you were not sold on at first, but I think that's great. I did hear a lot of people hoping that they would get called up to kind of start something with Seth, but then to my point,
that would be good.
Is Seth kind of needs someone with him? Otherwise, it's going to become a singles focus, and it's they both seem like they're great at what they're doing.
What did I tweeted out on Tuesday? Male models versus Guidos was not what I had on my bingo card for tonight.
And they've got the good heel, something needs to happen in the ring. They're very creative with what they did. So
they did the cut. Oh, yeah.
They covered someone over.
So you could only see him from the waist down, so you couldn't tell who the legal man was.
He wasn't the legal man, and they did a little switcheroo, right? Like, that kind of stuff is great.
Classic. It's classic.
It's beautiful. So I think they bring a good, they have good characters. Right, it's kind of reminiscent of what Edge and Christian used to do back in the day when they would do their 5-second flash photography, right? It's taken to the next level.
Right, they've made it their own. They've made it their own.
But I like it a lot, so I'm very excited to kind of continue to see what they have to offer in NXT.
Yeah, I definitely think NXT has a lot of talent, and they've done a great job refining it, and a lot of people I want to see.
I think that's fully Shawn Michaels at this point too.
Yeah, good for him. So that makes sense. That makes sense. Everything I've seen about him, he's another one who seems like a true, I love wrestling, I love the WWE kind of guy, and so it makes sense that something that he would take over would do so well. And again, ironically, it's so funny. A lot of this might be coming from playing through my eyes in WWE 2K22.
He helps you there.
He helped me there, and so I was like, I love Shawn Michaels, man. And I mean, obviously, I did, I had seen clips and stuff of him in the past. She's watched wrestling in the past. I've seen clips from before.
Yeah, I grew up watching that, so.
Yeah, so that's cool. That's very cool. But NXT after Raw was such a relief.
It's very refreshing to watch, to see the weirdness of Raw and then get into NXT and go, oh, thank God, there's still hope, right?
Yeah.
We kind of figured that was a one-off Raw. We were hoping that it's not going to continue, right?
We're thinking that our running theory is that it just it was a matter of proximity and access. Vince was there, so he did it.
Yeah.
And so hopefully that will not, he's not going to travel the country with Raw or whatever. So, and worst case scenario, this is the worst case scenario that I think they could get away with. If Vince was like, I'm going to run Raw, and so he ran Raw, and nobody watched Raw.
Yeah, and that's what people were kind of saying. Like, maybe Triple H takes SmackDown.
Yeah.
He takes her. I hope that's not what happens.
Right. That's worst case scenario that I think they can get away with because it won't tank the whole company, and eventually they would be like, Vince, you can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
Raw has no ratings.
And that's the thing is like, do they then compare the ratings and then kind of push him out of the seat by doing that? But then you're going to hurt a whole bunch of people in the process.
Worst case.
You're going to get the PLEs where you're going to have the merge come and you're going to have bad talent and bad storytelling on one, and it's just going to become a mess.
Bad or underutilized talent.
I'm just hoping that...
Yeah. But I'm thinking that it's going to be... Vince was there, that's why he did it. Vince isn't going to be there, and so he's not going to keep doing it.
Yeah, it sounded like there was only, for SmackDown, some small, tiny little changes, and
which is
like,
fine.
that's okay.
It's fine, because it was good. Because now we can go right into SmackDown, which was good.
Much better.
We liked SmackDown.
There was actual matches.
Yeah.
For like the first hour, I think it was just like mostly matches. Triple H didn't come out until 9.
Yep. Who's the okay? So what was the order of SmackDown? Let me see.
I'm already gonna forget. It wasn't Ricochet and Ivar, right?
I don't think that was first.
No. I can't even remember what happened.
What was the date yesterday? It was the 7th.
Yes.
Let's see. Let's pull this up. We're doing it live.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was Imperium versus Brawling Brutes, right?
Oh, right, yes.
Which was great.
Yes.
I loved watching that.
Good starter match.
Good starter match. I like the matchup of, again, the cut and dry Imperium versus the rough and tough Brawling Brutes. I thought that was a great match. I enjoyed watching that. Then we had... Was it then Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar versus Dominic Mysterio?
No, because they came out after Triple H announced Rhea.
Oh. Okay.
So that was later on in the night.
What was the match you were asking about? Because you just...
Ricochet and Ivar.
Oh, that's not even on here. But yeah, Ricochet versus Ivar. That might have been second then. Because...
Did I make that up?
No, that definitely happened.
Did I dream it?
No, that definitely happened. Because
that
was where I really noticed Ricochet's expressiveness with his eyes and stuff. And so...
Which is funny, a lot of people have been talking about Jay also getting really good at kind of like the expressions, and Roman being like perfect when like someone comes out and interrupts.
Roman, he's good at that, yeah.
So I've been trying to pay more attention to that because sometimes I get distracted during the matches and I want to start looking at like how are people being expressive and selling things. And
so that was good. That was a good match. Then we had, I guess, Triple H came out and addressed people. Then it was Rey. Well, then Ripley talks.
Yes.
Then,
actually, everyone got to talk from Judgment Day, which is Dominic saying...
Oh my God, yeah, that was...
The heat.
The heat that Dominic got when he tried to speak. I mean, he is the most hated man in the WWE right now. And, oh my God, that was...
Yeah, he couldn't even talk.
Yeah.
At one point, you couldn't even hear
him. He was making me mad, just like the stuff he was saying, which again, obviously by design.
He was pulling his punches.
But yeah, I didn't want to hurt my dad.
Perfect.
Which is such bullshit because literally the whole thing happened because he kept egging his dad on.
And he was going to hit him with a chain.
Yeah. But it was great. That was a great promo by the Judgment Day and Dominic specifically.
And I think the commentary has also helped really sell him as like this major heel. Right?
Yeah.
Like he can't say anything without I can't remember who it is, but one of them,
Michael Cole?
Adam. No. Maybe it was Michael Cole.
I don't remember the names.
Yeah. I gotta get back on who's
Yeah, I know. We'll get there. We'll get there. We're still just kind of getting in it.
Really good at helping like keep him up there.
I think WWE's commentary is way better than the AEW's. Based on the one match I watched. Based on the one match I watched. The AEW commentary, I was like, first of all, they have 3 guys that all sound exactly the same. They
Taz.
So, and second of all, no, the WWE's commentary is so great because you basically have the heel and the face commentator. And so, I mean, honestly, I'll call a spade. It makes it easy for idiots like me to follow who I'm supposed to like and not like when I don't know any better, right? Like, I know if this guy says that this guy's the right guy, that means he's the heel. So I think they do a very good job with the commentary.
I know historically there's been a lot of constraints on commentators through Vince and things like that, but even so, they do. I know a lot of people get tired of like the recapping and stuff like that, but it's good for people who can't watch everything or don't remember everything, and they kind of bring you back in and remind you of like why people are at odds or how people teamed up, right? Like the things that are going on. So
you could learn a lot from just listening to the commentators if you're someone who's either like returning or trying to watch for the first time.
And I will say when they do the commercial breaks, like the picture-in-picture, like I'm annoyed that I don't have someone commentating the match because it helps keep you engaged too. And not that obviously AEW is also commentating the match, right? It was a disappointment for both sides, right? Where they do the picture-in-picture and you can't hear.
Yeah.
But the commentary brings a lot to offer to the match.
Yeah.
So I'm not a big fan of the picture-in-picture ads. It sucks.
I mean, it's the picture-in-picture ads aren't any worse than just ads with nothing.
Yeah, it's just I think it's I guess out of all of it, it's the lesser of two evils because either you have a commercial break that cuts into a match and you miss excitement, or you have the match on the side of an ad and you just can't hear anything.
Although I think the picture-in-picture matches were picture-in-picture commercial breaks were longer. So
I want to time that.
Yeah,
I'm curious too.
It
felt longer, but I'm not sure if that's just because I'm waiting for the sound to come back.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. But so I like the WWE commentary better. Just wrapping that back up. And then the last match I believe was Sammy and Jay, which I thought was built up very well. A lot of backstage shots leading up to it. I liked the whole Sammy wants to talk, and I was convinced. That like something was gonna. Obviously, I knew someone was gonna interfere.
Yeah,
we were correct on that. Solo came out after the Paul Heyman, make our problems go away.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like not that was misleading, right? But it led to you just expecting something different to kind of happen. Right, so a lot of people were expecting at the end for Jay and Solo to be at odds instead of what normally happens, and it almost happened.
It did. They knew that we would. They knew that we knew. They were expecting us to expect.
And then Jay just goes and kicks Sammy in the face or whatever it was, and I was just like, wait, no. Yeah. And then
Matt Riddle comes out, which, to be fair, makes more sense than when Matt Riddle came out to interrupt The Miz on Monday.
Yeah, so it seems strange because that was like the weird, here's the superstar returning on Raw after WrestleMania. And it was just kind of whatever, right? Although they're dropping his first name again, which is a very Vince thing apparently. He's just Riddle instead of Matt Riddle. I don't know. We were hearing both. But it seemed last night that they were just saying Riddle. So his return at Raw was kind of lackluster, I will say. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. Now he's got a match against The Miz. But then you're going to also make him interrupt and kind of continue the actual storyline of the kayfabe, why he was out of wrestling for so long. It just seemed strange. It was kind of like, why not have him just return on SmackDown?
Right. What was the point of Monday? What was the point of him?
And so now he's got a match against The Miz. So you need to
You could have picked anyone. You could have picked, and you could have made anybody interrupt The Miz.
Yeah.
And give it, first of all,
could have been Snoop Dogg again.
Giving them a better reason, mind you. There's no explanation whatsoever.
Yeah. So that kind of messed things up for me because at first I was like, why is Matt Riddle coming out again?
Yeah.
Right? And then when I was like, oh shoot, that was the kayfabe for him kind of being out of action. So it makes sense, but then it was just confusing to get back into it to see him interrupt The Miz first, and now they have a little bit of beef, and now he's back involved. So it makes sense for what happened on SmackDown, just Raw kind of threw it off course.
Right. Yeah, it made sense on SmackDown.
So I was confused at first, and I was just like, again, this guy is just interrupting everybody, bro, come on, man, and also put the shorts back on. I don't like the Speedo.
Especially because he doesn't wear no pads of any kind on the elbows or knees, no shoes. He's
naked. Yeah, just something, Riddle. Weird. Put the longer shorts back on. It's fine if he doesn't want to wear any other gear. I get, the whole MMA stuff, right? It's his background, but please. So.
But again, SmackDown, good.
Yeah.
Good ending to SmackDown because again, we anticipated a twist, and then they bait and switched it. They even led into it and then still pulled it away. So I think they did good.
Yep.
And again, after watching SmackDown and NXT, I feel safer with the WWE's future and Vince not being, super involved. I was worried after Monday, but, I was holding my bets. There was that whole Twitter campaign, Fire Vince, and, people were chanting it.
There was a sign that got confiscated, of course, that said Fire Vince, and people were getting annoyed because they're just like, just leave it alone.
Just let it happen.
You chanting and disrupting kind of what's going on isn't going to make them fire Vince. Just shut up at that point. So, be vocal on social media, right? Things like that. But when you're at the show, you know what I mean? Like, just be involved with the show. Vince isn't on camera. He's not doing something. So a lot of people were kind of annoyed. But from what I heard, 3 people tried to start a chant last night and nobody was like engaging, and then it died down.
Twitter's not real life. Imagine that. So.
Or Reddit. Reddit. But forgot the news of the draft.
Yeah, so that was right, and that was the big drop. Is there going to be a WWE draft, which is awesome.
Potential to split the titles again. This is where maybe since they didn't do any call-ups for NXT, right, this may be where they call some wrestlers up, so that'll be exciting to see. And this also may break up some stables. So I know there's a lot of conversation around Judgment Day, right, and if that gets broken up, and it seems like it's been good for everyone. The only kind of person who isn't really like doing anything crazy right now is Damian Priest, although obviously now he's got kind of beef with Bad Bunny and stuff, so it's kind of like, how do you break that up?
Backlash is going to be fun. I'm actually looking forward to Backlash.
So, we'll see. It'll be interesting what stars get moved around, what happens.
Yep. Break up some stables and some teams, right? Give people some fresh, options for interaction. Call up NXT talent. Put people in place to really shine. I think it's going to be great. I'm very excited. I think we definitely have to do a My GMO draft stream to celebrate.
We draft all our creative characters.
I
do that a lot.
Well, we do a lot. But that'll be fun. We can definitely that'll be fun to stream. We can stream that.
Yeah, that would be cool. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll shift some things. I know there's been a lot of chat too about like the undisputed titles and things like that, and you got someone like Roman Reigns who doesn't wrestle very often, and he's got both belts. So split that up, let someone else have
give us more
title.
Action,
Get us some more involvement. I know historically, right, there have been some title runs on things like Raw and SmackDown, but and title changes. They want to save that right for some PLEs, but build up the momentum. Right now, you only have one main title run, right?
Right, so, you can only really, when a title's involved, it's either you got to go for Roman, or right now you got to go for Sami and KO as a tag team.
And then
Austin Theory for his, United States.
Gunther. Intercontinental.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, I mean, there's a decent amount of titles, right? But when you're talking about the big guy, right? The big gun, you kind of combine them now into one, and Roman clearly needs to have his 1,000 days of being champion, right?
That can't come soon
arbitrary
enough. Give him his 1,000 days so
silly.
that we can move on with that story, please.
But, and then it kind of just ruins the momentum. So it'll be better, I think, to go that route again. And also I heard some people are tired of, some of the same wrestlers being on both programs. I've heard mixed things. Some people like it, but the majority of what I was seeing are kind of tired of seeing people on both, and they kind of want to split it again. Especially for people, who maybe don't have the time to watch both shows and maybe prefer to pick one and then just watch recaps. So I think it'll be very interesting to kind of see what they do with that.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. I think we've hit all the recap stuff, right? I don't think there's anything else we missed, really.
I hope not.
Yeah. So a couple other things I kind of figured we could talk about, add some more time, pat our show length here. So we watched AEW Dynamite.
Yes.
Who stood out for you in AEW, if you can even remember? Because again, that was our first time.
I know, I'm trying to remember everybody. I mean, I will say I wasn't thrilled with the little show tunes.
MJF?
Yeah, I mean, he seems like a great heel and a good, champion, but...
He seems like,
that's not my thing, and when that went on, I immediately just walked away, probably get a snack again, because I like snacks. And
MJF was great for me. I think again, I can take or leave the singing, dancing show tune, but I think he's a great heel.
Yeah, and obviously that was kind of like
he
a
lives
one-off.
for this shit.
I would think.
I've seen the clips. Like he lives for this shit.
Yeah.
He lives to be a heel. And again, my buddy wrestled him. He sent me a picture of
we'll have to post it on our Twitter.
Yeah. So that was cool. Riho, right? That was the very, very small woman.
Yes.
She was impressive.
I
loved her outfit.
I liked that, and that's the thing, right? Like, in NXT, you might see something like that, but I feel like AEW gives a bigger platform to up-and-coming wrestlers, especially for women, so it was interesting to see she was so tiny, and it was just like watching her do some crazy things, you know, and I feel like that gives a variety of talent, which is something that Vince historically was not great at, right? He would build a roster of kind of the same caliber of wrestlers over and over again. So that was pretty cool. I know there's some talk about I can't think of her name just now, but Saraya.
Saraya?
I'm gonna forget her name now. What Paige is new?
Oh, I don't know.
And I can't think of their stable name now because it's
Was it? Were they on Dynamite or is this?
They were on. They showed up for like a small little promo, and I had looked into them. It was like it was all former WWE.
Yeah, you mentioned that
women. Yeah, and I thought that was interesting. It sounds like they have a decent kind of like story build, but from what I know of Paige, she's not great on the mic.
I'm trying to look it up.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm getting mostly like results. Yeah, no one's listing promos.
My phone's all the way over there, but maybe just look up
AEW page. Right. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Saraya Jade Bevis is apparently that's her actual name.
Yeah. Well, she can't use Paige anymore, so I'm pretty sure Vince was like,
right.
"That's my name."
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, it seemed like it could be interesting. I would hope that she could maybe get a little bit better on the mic because, other than that, right, you got two other women who maybe will be better anyway. So she doesn't need to be.
Yeah, let me see.
As perfect on the mic, but a lot of people aren't really impressed with her mic skills. So that was like the one downfall to that little stable.
Toni Storm and Ruby Soho.
Yes.
Ruby Soho, sorry.
Ruby Soho, Toni Storm, and then Saraya.
The Outcasts.
Yes.
That's it. The Outcasts. Okay, there we go. We got there.
80 years later, we made it.
Yeah. So who I was looking up originally. There was someone else. Commander versus Sammy Guevara was a very interesting. I don't like Sammy. I'm not a big fan of Sammy.
Him chewing gum was driving me insane.
He's kind of a douchebag. I don't like him.
I don't know if that's the point of his
I'm sure
character.
it is. I'm sure it is. But I don't like him.
And then I read, some things about him and his history and all of that, which just put a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. Even though it's all like
conjecture.
Yeah, no one knows exactly what happened between him and his ex, but he did make that like a public show to propose to her on TV, so people were invested in them. And then
leave her for
a more conventionally attractive woman and get engaged and married in a much shorter time. Yeah. While his ex
had been there and supported it. So it seems like he's kind of a douche, just like he looks like kind of a douche.
Who knows? But yeah, like his gum chewing was driving me nuts because like while you're talking, like part of your promo is also like your not only your appearance, but like just how you're carrying yourself and holding yourself, and so him just going like darn it was driving me insane. I could not stand it.
It was like that. It's like that commercial we kept seeing during wrestling. I think it was maybe during Wrestlemania with the Wingstop chicken sandwiches. That always ended with the dipping in the sauce, and it made that noise, and it made me want to put my fist through my TV every time I heard it.
Oh, and the sandwiches look great.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I wanted every one of those sandwiches, but by the end of the commercial, I wanted to physically harm the person who made the commercial. So
yeah, but I mean, seems interesting. Who else was there?
So we had Hook versus Ethan Page.
Oh, I somewhat remember that because I remember Hook's boxing shorts.
I don't remember that one. Again, it doesn't help that these were my first time seeing all these people. So
I will say I wasn't as like
Nothing's-
invested
yeah.
watching it because I knew we were just kind of like trying to get into it a little bit, so I was a little distracted, and I was looking up so much stuff during the matches.
Right, we kept looking stuff up. Yeah, I did like House of Black versus Orange Cassidy and Best Friends.
Yes,
that one I love the vibes.
They
I
seemed
love
fun. The Best Friends.
Yeah.
And again, looking up everything to try and figure things out and get some of the lore behind the characters.
Yeah.
So
and that brings up another point that I wanted to talk about, because I saw someone online on TikTok actually who had said that basically AEW is about the matches and the storylines are just something that the fans deal with to watch the matches, whereas WWE is about the storylines and the fans will watch any match if it helps progress the storyline. And I think that's interesting. And again, I haven't watched enough to say whether or not that's true, but it feels, based on other things I've heard and seen, that that's probably got some merit to it. And it also confirms that I think I would fall more on the WWE side of the fandom for wrestling.
And it does seem to kind of be like that, right? Because AEW has like that all access, and then something else that they said, oh, watch this to get more of the background and the story on characters. And
the all access thing is like behind, like
yeah, it's like a behind
like
the
real,
scenes.
like out of character, which I'm sorry, couldn't be less interested in.
But I think they also do it to like get you invested in like, you know, the actual people and then the characters that they are representing, right, on television. So for me, right, who like, you know, busy and I don't have a lot of time to sit down and like he's mentioned, we don't watch TV. Like I watch hockey, but I don't...
Even that, not that much.
Yeah, and it's 82 games out of the year, right? And plus playoffs. So, you know, it's not like it's not an every night thing. You know, it's maybe 2-3 nights a week if they have a bunch of back-to-backs, which is kind of what wrestling is, but it's, you know, a 2-hour... So it's about a SmackDown. Like, right. You know, and it's just kind of... And I can put that on in the background, right? I don't have to be, like, super invested in watching it. So to start getting back into things and have to be invested in almost like one or the other, like, which do I pick? I'm a story-driven person, so I don't want to have to watch extra things to find out the story.
Right.
I love wrestling. I love the skill. Like I wanted to get a trampoline. I want to do flips. I wanted to be a wrestler when I was younger.
I want to be a wrestler now.
Well, yeah, I still do.
I want to get in shape. I'm gonna join the WWE. Fuck 'em.
You know, in 8th grade, I'm telling my guidance counselor for our career things where we used to have to like pick a career and then like report on it. Like I want to be a wrestler, and they're like telling me pick something else. Like, and I'm disappointed. You know, like, so I'm very into the wrestling and, you know, the technical aspects and all of that, but the story, right, because I grew up watching the WWE, the story is what brings me in, and I'm willing to, you know, get rid of, like, reality, you know, and to go, like, okay, The Undertaker, obviously he's not, like, a lich, but, like, I'm willing to believe he is when I'm watching it to get into it. Yeah. So
it's cool. It's fun. You know, suspend your disbelief. You watch movies, right? What's the big deal? You know, you know that the Undertaker isn't a, you know, undead magic man who likes motorcycles. But
yeah, like, so I'm big into that. So it'll depend on how much AEW skips over that. Like, obviously they have to have some story-driven things. Yeah. But to your point, it sounds like wrestling's kind of the highlight, and the story is kind of like just an aside, right? Like, you know, like that's the main course.
It's how they justify matches.
And then, you know, the stories like the mashed potatoes to your steak, right? Where WWE, the steak is the story, and then the match helps progress that story based on what is happening within that match. Who interferes? How the engine goes. Yep. You know, so we'll see, right? We're looking to try and get into it and to look some things up in AEW, because obviously it's another alternative, but some people who like to compare them, right? As we mentioned earlier in the podcast, they're separate products. They're different products. Yeah. And it's good because the WWE needs competition, but they don't need to be the same. It doesn't need to be WCW versus WWE again. You know, it's good to have an alternative, especially for wrestlers in their careers. And it's good to have an alternative for people who don't want story-driven or more fantasy-type characters, you know, and want to watch more wrestling-based shows.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're on the same page there. I think it's you know, there's some... Again, I think MJF is a phenomenal heel, phenomenal wrestler from, like, just the total package. Although I didn't see him actually wrestle, so I'm just... he calls himself the total package, but... I'm assuming he's a good wrestler as well as being a phenomenal
I don't think
presence.
they hand him the keys to anything in the company if he's not really good at wrestling as well. So it'd be interesting to actually see, and looking more into, his wrestling style, how things go. From what we heard, AEW was more choreographed, like it's more of shoot wrestling or spot wrestling. Sorry.
No, remember you're thinking about that Reddit post. Some matches are, some matches aren't.
It depends on the wrestlers, but from what I was reading, a lot of them are coming from similar backgrounds, and like that seems to be the thing nowadays. So it's kind of like artists, right? Like they all have the same art style we've seen recently because they're all coming from the same freaking college, right? Like where it sounds like a lot of wrestling schools are kind of teaching more choreographed matches, which isn't a bad thing, right?
No, yeah, you could do great things with that.
Yeah, it
absolutely.
means the mic's not going to pick up someone calling a spot. So, but different styles, right? In different ways that they handle things. So maybe less impromptu things going on, and it seems like AEW is more structured, where there's no rewrites unless something seriously wrong happens, like an injury or someone literally can't make it to the show. Where WWE leaves some things open to imagination. They might have an on-the-spot promo. It seems like there's a lot of differences between how they approach the show altogether as well.
Yeah. So, I just remembered something from SmackDown. Shinsuke Nakamura is coming back next week.
I basically have his hair now, so...
Yeah? Honestly, you do. I'm excited. He seems like I love his entrance. I love his entrance a lot.
He was somebody that I heard kind of got buried. Like he's not a Vince-esque main eventer, and so
hopefully they
kind of misused him and things like that. But he seems really talented. Seems very exciting. So I'm excited to see him come back because I saw a few clips, and I know that you were very interested in him from the game too. Watching his entrance and all of that. So
I literally, I drafted him in my GM mode in 2K23. I was like, yo, this guy fucking rules.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited. We'll see. But so actually, that's a good segue. So one last thing I wanted to kind of wrap up here, or kind of cover before we wrap up here. Just kind of do a little bit of a level set here on our personal preferences. So let's talk about. I'm gonna write this down too. We are gonna do a new note here. We're gonna talk about our favorites, right? So we're gonna break it down. How do we want to break it down? Male, female?
I guess male, female, like all time.
Male overall. Okay, male all time. Female all time. And then we'll have male current. Female current. Favorite. Current overall. So not retired.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll do up and coming. Male. So basically anyone from either NXT or like very new. And then female. Okay. So and full disclosure again, me especially, not like the most knowledgeable wrestling person of all time yet. I'm learning a lot. I'm drinking from the fire hose, but my decisions will be made on very superficial things a lot. So, let's see. I'm just going to... All right. So, we'll start with you. Who's your male all-time?
The Undertaker.
Yeah. And I... So, this is based on... So I'm just trying to draw from everything in my knowledge, and I actually might also say the Undertaker. If it wouldn't be the Undertaker, okay. So I'm not going to pick Undertaker strictly to be different from you, but Undertaker is. I mean, I don't think there's a better candidate in my opinion. I think he's obviously done so much for the WWE and for wrestling. Well, for the WWE, I won't say for wrestling because I feel like. Other people have done...
He's a WWE loyalist,
right.
so
and I'm just saying, when I say for wrestling, I'm talking about bringing things that elevate the entire sport or whatever you want to call it, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, everything was more like he was a great locker room guy.
Yeah. What he did
mentor,
for the WWE was insane.
Putting people over,
Yeah.
but it was all within WWE.
Yeah. So for me, I am gonna go instead for basically my second choice here. I think I'm gonna go with Stone Cold Steve Austin. And again, not because he did some crazy things for wrestling, but I feel like the mark that he left on the WWE was crazy. I mean, the what, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but his mark can still be seen today. And again, when I was a kid, I knew exactly one wrestler, and it was Stone Cold Steve Austin. So that's pretty much why I'm going with him. So now the female all time.
It's a toss-up between Lita and Trish. So if I had to pick, it would probably be Lita, only because she had more of an influence on my personal life as well and my style.
That's fine.
But I do love Trish a lot too, and I think she did a lot of great things for the women's division. So
yeah. Again, this one is even less I have a good take on, and I'm going to try to avoid saying X because she's the hottest, which, first of all, not an easy choice. But what's that?
A lot of hotties.
Yeah, a lot of. But I'm just going to try to actually make a real decision here, an actual valid decision. But again, I don't really have any knowledge about past female superstars or divas back in the day. If someone were to ask me who my favorite older diva or whatever was, it would probably be Lita, just because of things that I've heard from you. So I'm going to draw from what I know, and now that I'm thinking, now I feel like there's like a name, there's like a silhouette in the back of my head that I feel like I'm overlooking now, and it's just like the names that are going into my head are like Becky Lynch. She seems like she has done a lot. She seems great. She seems talented. I feel like I am like missing. Oh, Ronda Rousey. Oh, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, okay, we're doing all. Well, see,
we're doing
that's
all
the problem.
time.
We're doing all time. And,
it's hard for
And for me, that overlaps.
Maybe you don't have anyone yet.
Yeah, I don't have one yet.
We're gonna watch some historical stuff, so maybe you can pick
TBD
someone.
on that one.
Yeah.
So, because it doesn't make sense for me to pick that, because it's going to be the exact same thing as current. So, all right. So, current overall male favorite.
Xavier Woods, only because I also like him outside of the ring. I think he does a lot of good things, though, for like kind of promoting wrestling without,
I agree.
like really meaning to, with his up, down, down stuff.
Yep.
But I like his personality. He has a great physique, also.
He does. He does.
And he also, like, even when he's involved in, like, so, like, when he did the LA Knight, the thing last night.
That promo was good.
Like, he doesn't seem, like, forced when he's, like, talking. He's very natural on the mic.
I actually watched a promo earlier, a clip of it. It was him talking to him and Kofi Kingston talking to the Usos.
I love Kofi, too.
Kofi is also great. And his promo was, like... Actually, did I download it? I think I did. I think I was considering sharing it. Let me see.
But I think he's just overall fantastic.
All right, let's just.
What y'all fail to remember is that we still hold the record. That means that you are chasing us. That means you're chasing the guys who built this from the ground up. You're chasing the guys who changed what tag team wrestling looks like today. You are chasing first-generation superstars. You see, y'all had people who were coddling you and holding your hand down the ramp, teaching you how to do this. Y'all got tryouts based on what your family members did before you. You built your legacy off the backs of your uncles, your cousins, your fathers, and your grandfathers, while we built our legacy off our own backs. Do not speak to us like you know what pressure is. Pressure is sitting and catering week to week, not knowing if you're getting fired. Pressure is building an entire YouTube channel outside of this company just to make sure you can get noticed at work. Pressure is putting together the most important three-man group to ever step foot in wrestling and coming in and getting booed for it. Don't you dare talk to us about pressure. You hear that? You hear that? They know about the pressure because these people know, every single one of them knows that pressure is what turned us into diamonds.
So
You're stiff on the mic. You ain't getting through that.
No, that was.
He's also super fucking smart.
Yeah, no, Xavier, hey, he's great. I again, this is going to be another instance where I'm going to pick somebody different, but really, I think Xavier might be my current favorite male wrestler as well. He's great.
Yeah, he's
talented.
So interesting.
He is, he's interesting. He's cool. He has he has the same interests. Like, he's awesome. I love Xavier Woods a lot. So but for me, I think I will go with. I actually might go with The Miz. I'm a sucker for the heel. I love The Miz. I don't think there's anyone who does it better than he does. What he does, he is the best at what he does.
He had a good, start to just he had it on TV and he knew what to do with that. So
I love The Miz. So okay. So female, current, overall.
Asuka.
Yeah, Asuka again.
Taking all your.
Yeah, we have similar tastes. So
we're married. So.
So again, I would probably I would also pick Asuka, but I'm gonna go. I think Becky Lynch is probably
the man.
The man.
She's also a good.
She's great.
Second, Asuka again, just because she also was doing YouTube stuff that I used to watch outside of wrestling, and that kind of started to bring me back into wrestling. Actually, was seeing some stuff on social media about Asuka. I saw some of her memes that got shared, and I was like, oh, who's this?
She's fucking funny.
And then I started really kind of looking into her, and then we got WWE 2K22 at the time, right? And kind of learning about her, seeing her cool hairstyle, and and then learning how great she is a technical part of wrestling.
Very, very, very skilled wrestler. Yeah.
So
on top of just being very funny.
Yeah.
Very cool person. So yeah, she's awesome. All right, so now we're up to up and coming wrestler. This could also be someone you're most excited to see more about or more of.
Yeah, I want to pick Pretty Deadly, just as the
sure
group.
That works.
Because like I said, I do think that's interesting. I'm curious where they might go with that. It could be hit or miss, right?
Yeah.
I think they have a good thing going. So I'd like to see more of it and see what they can actually bring to the table, of more center stage.
Okay. And for me, I'm gonna go with Dexter Lumis again. He's in NXT. I don't know much about him, so I don't know. I'm hedging my bets here because I don't want up and coming to sound like I'm saying something derogatory about him. If he's the star of NXT, I have no clue. For me, this is really more about just who I want to see more of, because I think I will like his character. But I haven't actually seen him wrestle yet, so I don't know. So we'll see. This could change. We'll probably recap every episode with this. And so last one is female.
Rosie Perez, was that?
Yes. I think it was Rosie Perez.
Polka dots.
Yes, she was very impressive. I was very impressed with the Stand and Deliver, right?
Yeah, I really I wanted her to win.
Yeah.
So I got introduced with her from 2K23. And I kind of liked her style. I liked, not style of wrestling, but also her aesthetic. Right. And then I got to see her in Stand and Deliver, and I kind of wanted to see more of her. So
I'm gonna double check. I think it's Rosie Perez.
Yeah, I'm 99.9% positive.
Yeah.
So I'd like to be, and I'd like to learn more about.
Hold on. Do you think she's an actor?
Am I wrong? Maybe it's not right.
Hold on. Let me see.
I'm gonna go nuts. I'm trying to remember.
Roxanne Perez.
Yes, that's
Roxanne Perez. There you go. Okay.
Yes. So I'd like to learn more about what she's doing, because I think it's also hard for wrestlers in NXT to really like come out and develop a good character. So a lot of people have done it really well. They get into a stable. They've gotten a lot of good stuff going, but I think some of them struggle just on their own, right, to really come out with something like very interesting. So one of the reasons I think NXT can be exciting is to like kind of see them develop a character and develop that. So curious, what is her character? Does she have anything yet? Has she really found her footing? But her wrestling I thought was cool. So she's somebody that I'd like to see more of.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, obviously this is all WWE, by the way, in case anyone was confused. Just WWE. We're not talking about
We're not ready for AEW. I can't remember people's names yet, so.
The only thing that made me think about it is because I liked Riho a lot in AEW. Yes. She was fun to watch. But, so if you had asked me a week ago who I would pick for my favorite up-and-coming female wrestler, I probably would have said Gigi Dolan. Yeah. I think she is... I like her aesthetic. I was impressed by what I saw at Stand and Deliver during the ladder match. I thought that was very well done. I think she did a great job. However, I am intrigued by Ivy Nile.
Oh, right.
She's like super short, Bulldog. But she's jacked. So I'm very interested.
She was, what, 5'2" or 5'1"?
Yeah, 5'1" or 5'2". I think it was 5'2".
We looked that up.
Yeah, and she, she's jacked. She seemed cool. So I'd like to see more from her as well. So, okay. Not a bad list. Not a bad start. I think that's pretty much going to cover it for our first podcast. Like I said, I want to do we're going to try to do every Saturday. We're going to do a podcast recapping the wrestling, the WWE from the week, and, talking about any other stuff we watched. I want to do a GM mode draft to celebrate the WWE draft. So as soon as I can force her to do that, we'll do that. Or I'll just do it by myself and no one will watch because they won't have her here.
I can sit next to you.
Anyway, but other than that, we got our social media links. I hope I'd love to have people join our Discord. More people to talk to would make this easier for us to, get information and kind of like bounce things off people and hear other people's thoughts. That'd be cool. But otherwise, stay tuned. We'll be back in a week and we'll have more to go. So and hopefully it won't take too long for our setup to get a little bit of higher production quality here. Instead of just sitting here and having no graphics or anything. Yeah, spinning your chair like crazy. But yeah, cool. All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you around.